Welcome to Lighten Your Load, the podcast for busy professionals, where we explore how a deeper understanding of how life really works can help remove the weight of excessive thinking, allowing you to live with less stress, more clarity, and greater resilience. Hello, I'm Peter Field, and welcome to episode 4 of the podcast Lighten Your Load. In the last episode, we briefly explored the principle of thought and the subtle but important distinction between thought itself and the personal experience of thinking. In this episode, I want to continue that discussion by briefly exploring a second universal principle uncovered by Sydney Banks, the principle of consciousness. Consciousness is our capacity to be aware. It's our ability to know that we're alive and our ability to have an experience. Without consciousness, we couldn't have an experience. Life would be like a silent movie with just this idle, lifeless thought running through our head. Consciousness is like the special effects department in a movie. If you've ever watched a scary movie, you know that the special effects department can do a wonderful job in making the monsters look very real. But no matter how lifelike the monsters seem, you don't take any protective weapons with you into the theatre because you know it's just a movie. Well, consciousness does a much better job of making our thoughts appear real than even the best special effects departments. And we see this with our dreams. In a dream, your heart races, you feel emotions, you react physically, you can feel terrified, excited, relieved, because your dream thoughts are brought to life through consciousness. And the same system applies to your waking experience. Consciousness brings our thought to life via our 5 senses so we can experience them and create a sense of reality in our life. Now, like all universal principles, the principle of consciousness is neutral and impersonal. It doesn't select which thoughts to bring to life, but breathes life into all of them and makes our thoughts appear real to us in the moment, no matter how unlikely or untrue those thoughts might be. This is why anorexia sufferers starve themselves into emaciation. It has nothing to do with the reality of their appearance. They certainly don't look overweight, but their thoughts of being overweight are brought to life by consciousness, and the experience feels very real to them. Consciousness is like an electrical socket or outlet. Anything you plug into the outlet will come to life, whether it's a toaster, a washing machine, a TV, a lamp. Electricity never says no, and neither does consciousness. So all your fearful thoughts, insecure thoughts, judgmental thoughts, thoughts of hopelessness, they'll all feel very real to you in the moment, and your body will respond as if your thought-created reality is really happening. If I have the thought right now, I'm overwhelmed, there's just so much to do, I can't cope, and I really thought that was true, I would start experiencing what it feels like to feel overwhelmed and busy. And the more I thought it was true, the more overwhelmed and stressed I would feel. Thought creates the content of experience, and consciousness instantly brings that thought to life as felt reality. But because the connection between thought and feeling happens so quickly, it doesn't really look as though it's our thinking that's creating the felt experience. But here's the critical point to understand. No matter how real your emotional reactions feel, you are not reacting to objective reality itself. You're reacting to your thought in the moment, brought to life by consciousness. And this is why 2 people can walk through the exact same situation and experience a completely different reality. One person walks into a crowded room and feels excited. Another walks into the same room and feels anxious. One person sees a downturn in the economy as scary, another sees it as opportunity. The external situation may be identical, but consciousness is bringing different thought-created realities alive for each individual. So I'm not saying reality doesn't exist, but our psychological experience of reality is being created through thought, moment to moment. And because consciousness brings those thoughts vividly to life, The realities created through thought can feel absolutely true and solid, even when they are temporary, distorted, or constantly changing. And this begins to explain something else that all human beings experience. And that's life can look so different depending on our moods or level of consciousness. In lower states of consciousness, thoughts tend to appear more convincing, more personal, more emotionally charged. Problems look bigger. People look more threatening. The future looks more frightening. But as your mood or level of consciousness rises, your mind gets a bit quieter and some perspective or clarity returns. And this is why one day everything feels manageable and another day the exact same life feels overwhelming. Nothing's changed on the outside, but your level of consciousness has shifted. Your thinking has changed, and suddenly your entire perception of reality has changed with it. And that's why everything looks completely different. It also explains why arguing with people when they're upset often doesn't work very well. If someone's deeply caught in a low state of consciousness, they experience their thinking as reality, and it's very rare that you can speak to them logically. But when their mind settles and consciousness shifts naturally, they often see things differently all by themselves. Understanding the system is very fluid also provides reassurance that you're never stuck with painful or difficult experiences. And this brings enormous relief, because it means that you no longer have to panic every time difficult feelings appear. You start to see and understand that moods, perceptions, emotional reactions are not an accurate reflection of life itself. They're temporary states of consciousness shaped by whatever you're thinking in the moment. And with this deeper understanding, the less personally you tend to take your fluctuating emotional states, and the less thinking that you tend to do, because you've got a better understanding of how the system actually works. And with less thinking, it creates space, and this space allows clarity, perspective, and fresh new thought to naturally arise. Not because you forced it or had to fix anything, but because the mind naturally resets when you stop treating every temporary experience as ultimate truth, and you begin to get an appreciation for the fluidity and perfection of the design. And this leads nicely into our next episode, where we'll be looking at the third and final principle uncovered by Sydney Banks, the principle of mind. So I do hope you'll join me then, and in the meantime, thanks for listening, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Thank you for listening to Lighten Your Load. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the show, and feel free to connect with me on Instagram to learn more about how you can remove the weight of excessive thinking off your mind, so you can live with less stress, more clarity, and greater resilience.